Welcome back to Unfiltered the podcast and welcome to Sinister Sunday. I'm Kay.
I'm Jess.
And V, your special guest.
Before we begin, we do want to give a quick listener discretion warning. Sinister Sunday covers real life crime cases that may include discussions of violence, abuse, and other disturbing material. Listener discretion is advised.
So, Sinister Sunday is where we slow things down and talk through real cases that don't have easy answers. The ones
Some of
that
these
stay with you long after the episode ends.
some of these cases are solved, some aren't, but all of them demand something from us. Patience, honesty, and willingness to stay present. Some of these cases
Yes.
are solved, some aren't, but all of them demand something from us. Patience, honesty, and the willingness to stay present when the story stops being comfortable.
So wherever you're listening from, take a breath.
Settle in.
Because tonight's case is technically solved, but emotionally it was never settled. And that's the tension, exactly why it still matters.
Before we get into the case, I want to ask this up front. When people hear solved but disturbing, what do you think they expect from an episode like this?
I think they're expecting, I don't know, something deep, you know, something big that's happening. It might be solved, but disturbing means, there's something big that happened.
And I feel like it gives people a sense of false closure. The paperwork may be
Hmm.
done, but emotionally it's still there. Nothing about the
Yeah.
story is solved, really.
Right. And like, do you think that solved actually changes how heavy a case feels?
I think, regardless if it's solved or not, you're still going to feel something about it because it's still heavy because it's something that affected a town, a place, things like that. So it's always going to be heavy.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what makes this case unsettling. Nothing about the setting signals danger. It's familiar, ordinary, and when violence happens in a place that feels safe, it forces us to confront how fragile that sense of safety really is. Are we really safe or comfortable? Go.
Let's ground ourselves in where we are. Ogden, Utah, early 1970s, a small electronics stores called the Hi-Fi Shop.
When you picture Ogden in the 70s, what comes to mind for you? Does this place feel like a place where something extreme would happen?
I've
I
never
mean,
even,
it's an electronics shop. You know what I mean? It's tiny. It's a small town.
in the 70s, I've never even heard of that, but I know where Utah is, and I'm picturing, sorry for what I'm going to say, hippie land, like just like regular old, just like doing whatever you want, just relax. But I guess not so much.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. And it's like you hear a certain town, or it sounds like it's safe, but crime or something unsettling never announces before it arrives. So you just got to be ready at all times.
Hmm.
April 22nd, 1974, there are employees and customers inside the hi-fi shop. Just a regular business day.
No one in the store is expecting danger. No one is on high alert.
And how often do you hear the phrase a true crime? It was just a normal day.
Hmm. A lot of times in true crime, you that's how a lot of it is it started off as, a normal day, a regular day, somebody doing their regular everyday routine. You hear that a lot.
That's true. But in this case, two men walk in, Dale Perry Selby and William Andrews.
Something that's important to establish early is that this was not a robbery that accidentally went too far.
They came armed, they brought restraints, and they brought Drano, a caustic drain cleaner.
That detail matters. Drano isn't something you grab impulsively. So before anything happened, intent was already formed. What does
Hmm.
that tell you about this crime?
They
They
were gonna,
definitely came to cause damage.
and they were
Exactly.
gonna,
Yeah.
and they were gonna try and take every little bit of DNA or any evidence
Hmm.
out.
Hmm. So, does that, when you hear that, like when you hear that, you know what they brought? They brought the Drano, okay? So the intent was definitely there. Does that change how you interpret everything that follows?
I think so. Yeah, because they actually had to like sit there and plan this out,
It
detail
was
by
definitely,
detail.
yeah, I agree.
They even, besides the Drano, they even came armed and they brought restraints, so they were going to hold someone down.
Yep.
Hmm.
So very quickly, the focus shifts from property to people.
The victims are restrained, threatened, and controlled.
This is where robbery fades into something darker. At one point, does violence stop being about taking something and start about owning someone?
Oh, that's a good question. I want to say a lot of serial unalivers
Hmm.
like the power. It's not so much about the unaliving. They like the power they feel behind it. So it can be about that.
Yeah, like the control. They like to be in control.
Hmm. And I think that if this was just going to be a robbery, they wouldn't have needed all of that other stuff. Like we said
Exactly.
earlier, they came in wanting to cause damage. They came in with the intent to cause damage. They knew that they were going to be controlling these people with that power.
Do you guys think the perpetrators always know when they've crossed the line?
That I don't know. I feel like they just go off the top of their head, but at the same time, some reactions probably change the way they trying to go about things. So maybe they probably
Some of them, I
after,
mean, if
yeah.
they're yeah, if they're serial ones, that there probably isn't much of a line to cross. You know what I mean? These guys came in with a purpose, and if I mean everybody knows what kind of damage Drano does to somebody. So if they came in with the intent to cause harm to these people using that, they knew what they were doing. I don't think there was much of a line that they weren't going to cross at that point.
Yeah, that's so
So
true.
yeah, we won't go into graphic detail, but we do need to acknowledge what makes this case infamous.
Oh my God. And we got it wrong the whole time. The victims were actually forced to ingest the Drano.
And just hearing that alone gives me the idea of them going a little too far for just a robbery.
Hmm. So, what's your first thought like when you hear that? Is it fear, anger, disbelief?
I think it's, I don't know. I think it's anger, like anger, and they just wanted to hurt them. Like, I don't know. I've never drank Drano, but
Oh,
I know what it does. I know what it does to my the pipes. So imagine what it does to someone's insides.
yeah.
Exactly, and it's like you couldn't think of something else to do. It's like
No,
what made
they
them think of that.
came right. They came to do damage. They came to physically hurt these people. So here's something I struggle with is how many moments existed where a choice could have been made to stop it.
Well, we have choices every day we can make. Every moment we make is a choice. So they could have stopped it like seconds before and just turned around and said, "No, we're not going to do this." But
Hmm.
not everyone's like everyone. So
No, exactly. They continue
And
to
my
go.
thing is if it's, you've got the two people, if my partner were the one that wanted to bring this Drano in, I'd be scared to back out because you obviously know what they're capable of. What are they going to do if they turn on me? You know what I mean?
this is true, yeah. But
Yeah,
here's
that's
the
true.
part. But here's the part that changes everything. Some of the victims actually survived.
And medically, they weren't expected to.
And that's the only reason why this case has names, faces, and people to accountable for. But the survival doesn't mean suffering ended. It just changed the form.
Hmm.
How do you think surviving something like this changes a person's relationship with justice?
Oof.
Sure, I don't even think justice is even in their mind. It's just a lifelong like aftermath of just trauma and reliving it every
Hmm.
day. And the fear
Right.
of just someone actually coming back to you, looking over your shoulders.
Is there even going to be justice enough to
Like,
cover
yep.
that? Because at this point, you're literally just surviving, and it's not just it's mentally. You're surviving mentally, trying to survive every day because of what you went through. Like you said, looking over your shoulder. This happened on a normal day. So if I'm gonna go out after going through something like that on any normal day, I'm gonna be terrified. You never know what's gonna happen.
This is true.
So, do you think survival always feels like a victory in cases like this?
I don't think so. I think because some people have survival remorse. Like after you
Mm-hmm.
survive something and let's just say I went to the store with you or with AOV and you guys are my best friends or whatever and I survived but you didn't. Like that's something that lays on my conscience. Like, damn, like what could I have done to make it like help you out? Like what could we have done differently? Like you get what I'm saying? Like there's always survival remorse and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You can
And
never
honestly,
go
yeah.
ahead.
No, no, no. I was gonna say, honestly, like, do you really wish you survived at some point? Because it's like
Right.
it's
After a
worse than
while, you're going
actually the whole crime.
right. After a while, you're going through that. You're suffering with yourself, and like you said, after a while, did you even want to be a survivor? Like that's what goes through people's minds when they go through a trauma like this.
So when police arrive, they're confronted with a scene that doesn't fit like a typical crime category.
This isn't just violent; it's calculated.
And just imagine you being the first person to walk into that scene. No category, no known idea of what you're walking to. It kind of changes your the way you see humanity and like the extent that someone could go to do a crime.
Yeah, like mentally
Hmm.
processing that, like that would be, I don't know. Like my questions would be like, why? Why go to this extent?
Right. Obviously, they changed it from it being about the money or the products they were trying to get away with or whatever, and it was pure torture. Like, how do you get that far? How do you get so messed up that that goes through your mind? You know?
Honestly, just knowing what we know already. I don't even think it was about money in the first place. I think it was just to do harm. Like I don't even
Mm-hmm.
think it was about the money anymore.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and that brings us to the next part of like before we even move forward, like what part of this case is like sitting the heaviest with you? And I think it's because of the extent they went in the crime.
Before we move into arrest and the events investigation, I want to stop here.
Because everything we've talked about so far already raises questions that don't have clean answers. Because everything we've talked about so far already raises questions that don't have clean answers. But what part of this case is already sitting the heaviest with you and why?
Bro, I'm stuck on that Drano. Like
Yeah.
drinking the drain. Like don't get me wrong. Like this is unfiltered. It's Sinister Sundays. I don't mind the restraints. Like restrain me all you want. I
Mhm.
don't know about the arms and shit, but that Drano gotta go.
Yeah, it pushes it over the edge a little bit too much.
Yeah, I agree. They came in they came in with a lot more thought into what they wanted to do than just a normal, robbery or whatever.
Okay, so before we get into arrest, I think it's important to slow down and talk about who these men were before this crime, because this wasn't a mystery offender situation. They weren't ghosts.
Right. Both men already had criminal history, especially Dale Shelby. Violence, instability, prior run ins with law enforcement.
And when someone has a violent past, it raises uncomfortable questions about their prevention, missed warnings, or whether intervention was even possible.
Hmm.
And at some point, it just gives you the thought of like, yeah, they're leading to more and more worst case, like more like a an extent of crime.
So, so I wanna, like you were saying, is he obviously had a violent history. What what could have prevented this from happening? I mean, is it more jail time, depending on what his violent history was? Is it,
But
um,
but
you
you also
know,
have to think what violent history meant back in the 70s.
yeah.
Like now, okay, I'm not even gonna try and say anything, but now a DV is like a slap on the wrist.
Hmm.
So back then, a violent history could have been like, oh, like whatever we have for like a felony now could have been like a simple assault or a simple misdemeanor back then. So you
Yeah.
never know. You really don't know until you like really and like research the what their um misdemeanors and felonies and all that thing, what the history was actually like of his violent streak.
Hmm. Right.
And I want to ask something else here. Do you know? No, no, no. Do you think knowing a perpetrator's background actually helps us understand a crime like this, or does it risk oversimplifying something that's more complex? And I honestly think sometimes because I have a background myself. So people usually like I like tell them my background for jobs and stuff like that, they're like, "Oh hell no. Like no, we're not going to give you the job." So a perpetrator, well, I'm not saying I'm a perpetrator, but like a person's personal background is a lot. I don't know if back in the 70s was a lot, but I know nowadays it's like, "Oh, okay, X, Y, and Z. No, no, thank you." So
Hmm.
but nothing will help you understand a crime like this. Like this was ruthless. Like no F's given.
I
Exactly, because
agree.
he can have a background of the same like intent, like robbery, but not to this extent of where he's actually trying to like unalive someone.
Right. I feel like this isn't something anybody could see coming. Any normal-minded person could see coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because survivors were able to provide descriptions, police didn't start from zero.
This wasn't a decade-long cold case. Arrest happened literally quickly.
And if you have been around to our previous podcast, you know arrest doesn't happen pretty often or so fast.
Hmm.
So does this fast justice help a community heal?
I don't
Right.
know
Do
if,
you think the speed of
uh,
the arrest changes how a community processes the trauma, or does the damage already exist regardless?
Well, I guess it just exists regardless of how fast or not, because of the extent of the crime. That's always going to be there. And even since the person survived, it's like you're going to be labeled as that person either way.
Right. I don't think that. I mean, regardless of the speed of it, whether it happens right away or long term, the trauma that this caused, not just the people that were involved, but the whole community. It. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna be any different. I don't think it's gonna be different whether they find these people right now and get them off the street, or they get them off the street, or they figure it out later. That trauma is gonna be there. They're gonna be looking over their shoulders regardless.
as investigators pieced together everything, it became clear this wasn't just extreme violence, it was actually torture.
And that word matters legally and morally.
And hearing the word torture, it forces us to slow down and just think about like what crossed in their mind to even do that. Like the intent, the duration of it, how did they feel, what made them continue like doing it.
I don't know if I want to be in anybody's mind that's going to be thinking all of that stuff. That's scary.
I would be thinking, like, when I think about this in general, I want to think, like, in their mind, were they thinking, like, how long they were going to do this for? Like, what were, like,
Huh?
why? What?
Why? Why? That's the question. Why?
Yes, why? Like, why would you do something like this?
Hmm.
Because this case forced law enforcement and prosecutors to confront that distinction head on.
Right. Survivors didn't just identify the perpetrators, they had to relive the whole experience in court.
And that's something we don't always talk about enough.
Hmm.
So I feel like the reliving it publicly, like it makes the whole, it just turns everything all around. Because like, is justice really what you want? Because you got to relive it again and again and again, and it becomes a burden.
Yeah, I think they do ask a lot. Like the justice system does ask a lot for the people. And for them, if they were have to get, you know, if they're, well, obviously it went to trial or whatever, but they're called as a witness, the questions that some of them get asked, and it almost feels like they're being bullied into answering a certain way, or that does something to you, because they literally have to remember and relive that whole day.
Exactly, because they even ask you like, how are you feeling? What did you think was gonna happen? Did you think you was gonna die? Or like,
Mm-hmm.
it gets you more deeper into that whole scene. So now
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's happening all over again.
Right.
Yeah, Ogden was shaken. People weren't just afraid, they were confused. And I can understand that 100%.
Mm-hmm. Because this crime didn't fit into a neat category.
And it wasn't like random fear. It was like fear of realization.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't random, it wasn't targeted, it was excessive. How do you think a town rebuilds trust after realizing something this cruel happened in such an ordinary place?
It can't be easy. Like we all said, they're going to be looking over their shoulders. They're going to be questioning. I mean, these people, these two guys lived in their town. They were from their town. I'm sure these people knew them. So you have to question everybody that you know, what their intent is. Are they safe? Are they really nice? Are they, you I don't know. I just feel like sometimes you don't know people, and it's sad that we have to question that sometimes. And this is back in the 70s. Imagine nowadays.
I know. I
Yeah,
live
that
in
was
a
even worse.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
live in a city where I go to the bodega. I'm gonna have to be worried if someone's gonna give me Drano to drink or something.
Right.
I'm serious. AOB's laughing over here, but
No, it's true.
he lives in the burbs.
Yeah,
Be
even
careful.
worse. I'm gonna be slaughtered in a damn farmhouse,
Exactly, dude.
fed to the pigs.
That was last week's.
I know.
I'm just kidding. Actually, I think it was the week before, but I'm just kidding. So the
Someone was fed to the pigs. Oh, I don't know.
so the trial itself drew intense attention.
Not because it was flashy, but because of what it forced people to hear. Do you think juries are ever truly prepared to hear cases involving prolonged cruelty? How does that affect decision making?
I don't think anybody wants to hear it, but I think that they have to hear it. You know what I mean? You being on a jury, you have to know all of the details. You have to know what's actually going on, and affect decision making. I mean, it's there. It happened. They have all of the facts that they need. So I don't think there's anything that needs to affect their decision making. It should be pretty crystal clear, but I don't know. I don't think, and it's hard. It is hard because you got to think of those jury members and all the people in that courtroom too that have to hear all of this. But I don't think any detail can be left out.
Yeah, exactly. And it probably puts a burden on them too, because now
Mm-hmm.
they have to relive it. And just
Right.
hearing it, they're just gonna go by off emotions. Like you have to learn, they gotta learn how to separate it to just go by the facts and not
And
just
that's
because of
not
the,
easy.
the extent of the crime.
Right.
But at least both men were convicted.
Yes, and they received severe sentences.
So justice was served, but emotionally justice doesn't feel clean or complete, not even satisfying.
But
Damn.
emotionally, what does justice even look like in a case like this?
Honestly, I don't know that I could feel that there is justice because these people that survived, they clearly have, issues going on with their bodies. You don't just drink Drano and walk away and be completely fine. There's clearly issues going on, and they have to live with that for the rest of their lives. They have to feel that every single day. So, is justice ever really going to be served? You know, that's just how
Uh,
I would feel.
like I said earlier in this podcast, if I know what happens to my drains, imagine what's gonna happen to your insides. Like that's like so it's, there
It
had to have been like traumatic things happen to these
Yeah,
people.
it literally eats away. It eats away your
Yeah, that's
esophagus, your
crazy.
stomach, everything. It burns. It literally burns your insides out.
So
And
all I
just the
can
fact
think
that they
about,
survived is nuts.
yeah, and all I
Mm-hmm.
can think about is like feeling like you're on fire, but from the
Yep.
if you guys
Yeah.
can picture that, like if it's burning, like. just like feeling like you're like on fire from the inside out, and that's absolutely insane to me. Like, oh my goodness, I could not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so crazy.
So I want to ask something that might be a little uncomfortable.
Go ahead, the floor is
Um,
yours.
do you think some crimes are so extreme that punishment can never feel proportional, no matter what the sentence is? So kind of like what I was saying before.
Yes. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and this is coming from someone who's been through the justice system and has seen like different like same cases and stuff like that and them have different outcomes. Like it's up to the judge at the end of the day. Like don't get me wrong, like yes, the jury decides like hey, they're guilty or not guilty, but the judge imposes the punishment. And some judges I feel like are more lenient than other judges. Like some judges will tell
Mm-hmm.
you like life in jail or whatever the case may be. And some will be like, oh, well, you have to do 10 years and life on parole. 10 years, you could do it with sitting on your hands. Like, I'm not saying that anybody should get 10 years, but 10 years you can do it sitting on your hands if you know you're going home to something.
Exactly. It's like a walk in the park type of
Mm-hmm.
sentence.
Yeah, like,
Right. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, if I were one of those survivors, and are you, I say survivors, but honestly, like I said earlier too, is you're suffering every single day. So I don't know that you're not necessarily surviving. You're literally just doing what you have to do, and that's living.
Exactly. And I'm
Um,
pretty sure at some point they just feel like they wish they would have just been ended.
right,
but
right.
going back to what you said, Jess, about how Drano burns and like, I think AOV even said like the esophagus. What if some of these
Mm-hmm.
people were even on life support or like had like, I forget what it's called, a tracheotomy, where they had to
Yeah,
speak through a trach and things like that because it burned
yeah.
like who wants to live like that? Like who wants to
Yeah, that
actually
sounds
do
just
that?
crazy.
Yeah,
I've
and like
heard stories, and it'll literally like take away your entire esophagus. And I
yeah,
know
and
that there's stuff that they can do. They have implant. You know, there's some weird stuff that they could do nowadays. All right, but
but that's
still,
nowadays. We're like saying like
right. This was in the
70s.
'70s.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and
Yeah.
then thinking about it as it's going down, whatever, it's affecting your colon, it's affecting your stomach. So some people,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if these were even out back then. They probably had to get a like a poop bag. I forgot what the name of it is, but like,
Colostomy bag.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
colostomy bag. Like some people probably had to get that. I'm like, imagine like trying to pee that out. Imagine trying to poop that out. Like, I feel bad. Like, I wouldn't even wanted to have survived, like AOV said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just thinking about that, it's
Yeah.
just like that's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
This case didn't just shock people in the 1970s. It still comes up today.
It challenges the idea that violence has limits.
Why do you think cases involving intentional suffering stay with us longer than others?
I, I feel like once you hear it, you can't get rid of it. Like there's just some things that you hear that no matter how hard you try, they're stuck in your brain. So when you hear somebody suffering the way that these people did, that it's not going anywhere. It's there.
I don't know. I'm stuck on the Drano.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, like I said before, like, and not to even be funny because this happens to like real people and this case matters, but like the the yes, it causes trauma seeing people armed and like also restraining you and stuff like that. But the
Mm-hmm.
internal damage that they did, like, because you don't even know if they hit them and like to get them restrained because some people fight back.
Right.
So like you never know. Or and how did they get this Drano down their throat? So it was like I'm not just gonna open my mouth and be like, oh, let me just drink this Drano. Like no, yeah. So it's
Yep.
gonna be
It
like,
was definitely forced.
of
Hmm.
course, yeah.
That's crazy.
But before we move into the long-term impact, I want to pause again.
We've covered facts, but facts aren't the whole story. At this point in the case, we talked about what we're struggling to understand. We've talked about how can somebody even think to do this. We talked about bringing the Drano in and how this was more than just a burglary from the beginning. So is there anything else that you're struggling to understand that you have questions about, or that's kind of sitting hard with you?
I want to know, like, okay, I've discussed the Drano part a couple times, but because that's just like in my brain, like, whoa, like it's just mind blowing me. But I want to know, like, really, what is in these people's head? Like, what were in these two men, like their heads?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what were they thinking going into it? Like, I, I don't know. Like, and I don't think we'll ever know. Maybe we will know. Maybe as we continue on, we'll know more. But it's just like, what's going on? Like, well, why?
Like
Why?
exactly.
Like, what, like all the questions, like what, when, why, how, like, how did you come up with this plan? Like, what made you do this plan? When did you even have, like, I don't even know.
It's like
You have.
who told you to
Oh, go
use
ahead,
Drano?
Avi.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
who told you to use Drano? Who gave that idea to like, oh yeah, Drano will work for this? I
Mm-hmm.
don't get it.
You have to think too. This was back in the 70s. Mental health was kind of a big taboo back then. It, it you gotta wonder. I mean, I wonder if that's what these two guys are going through at the time. Something doesn't seem right or didn't seem right for them to even have a thought like this, even to have a plan like this. So, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think about that? They didn't have the mental health help that we do nowadays back then. Do you
I
think
think
that
that's
that
what
could have
makes it.
been?
I think it makes it. I don't think it could have stopped this, but it does like change it because this probably could have been caught like
Yeah.
ahead of time in their previous crimes or just in general in their normal life.
Mm-hmm.
Because
If they
being that
had
I
the help
worked in the yeah,
provided.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because being that I worked in a jail in Rikers Island, like I've seen the point of like the mental health issues and it getting
Mm-hmm.
fixed in there for like a low crime. Like I don't
Right.
know if it helped them, but I know it like nowadays having that available does help.
Exactly.
And before we talk about the long-term impact in a broad sense, I want to, which I think we flew past that. I want to focus specifically on the survivors because surviving the Hi-Fi murders didn't mean returning to normal life. It meant learning how to live in a body and mind that had been permanently changed.
And like we talked about, the physical injuries alone were life altering. Ongoing medical issues, surgeries, chronic pain. But you had to think about the psychological impact, and how it's just as significant, if not more significant.
Like that's where it comes into where like you have a permanent transformation emotionally and physically because you got to relive it. You're never going to be the same
Mm-hmm.
going forward. So everything from after this happened is changed.
Right.
And we don't really know how much changed physically, but we can just imagine because the thought of Drano being digested is just like
Mm-hmm. And I know that we discussed, how sometimes people underestimate how complicated survival actually is, but the trauma that these survivors went through, I can't say that I'm underestimating anything because I could only imagine how hard it is for them every day with what they're going through now.
And with
Exactly.
that, it's like, do you think society sometimes expects survivors to be grateful for being alive without acknowledging what was taken from them?
I think it's expected from people, but those people don't understand. I coming from me, I think into a lot of stuff like that. I think a little bit deeper into stuff and I try and see what the other people are going through, and I'm not thinking that they're too, I had said it before. I'm not sure that I would be grateful to be alive with everything that I'm having to go through now. If I were them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like let's just say
But
you were in your 20s or 30s back in the 70s. We're now
mhm.
70, 80, 90, 2000s, 2010, 2020. You're now 70 going through all of this.
Mhm.
That's, I don't know. I don't know if some
And
people are still alive. I just think that if they are, they're not doing very well. Like,
Hmm.
look,
I can't say that any of them are actually feeling not lucky to be alive. Some of them might be grateful to be alive, but they definitely had to go through a lot to continue living, you know.
okay,
And
but
that's
this
where I
is a
would have been like, yeah, I want to end this.
Mm.
yeah, because this is where my question would have been like, yeah, okay, you're grateful to be alive. I get that, but what about the people who are like literally living vegetables, if I can say that? Like
Right.
they're just there. They're alive, but
Mhm.
they're just there. Like that's not no. Like I can't I just can't see past that. Like I
There's no quality of the life that you're living.
mm-mm.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you're in a vegetative state and you're that's the word I was looking for. Because yeah, you're in a vegetative state. You're just not okay. I can't. I can't.
Mhm. And one thing that really stands out in the case is how clear some of the survivors' memories were, even after the extreme trauma.
Which goes against the assumption that trauma always erases memory. Because some people be like,
Mhm.
oh, you got trauma blocks. No, they remembered.
Yeah.
And at some point, you think about like, how can it even be blocked if you're like constantly reliving it every day? Because
Mhm.
you probably get angry of yourself because you can't do certain things, and you're like, well, if this shit didn't happen, I would have been able to, you know.
Right. I have another
It's,
appointment today, or I have another surgery I have to go through.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's no way you can forget what happened because you're having to do all of this stuff to just survive.
yeah, and
Hmm.
it's like embedded in your memory. Like I've seen I've seen cases and things because like we did this because we love true crimes and true stories like this. And I've seen cases where people have literally just it's like in a loop in their head, like what they went through, like 24 hours a day. They're just there. They're sitting there just going over it. And that's not mentally sane for anyone because it's just embedded in there and they're just like going through different scenarios of what they could have done.
Hmm.
Right. You had to think how those memories affect someone years later, especially when they're tied to like public court records and retelling of the stories, or like even nowadays, you see things popping up on the Book of Faces where, hey, this happened 40 years later, and how are these people living now, or this happened 20 years later, how are they now? Like like you said, it's never ending. It's continuously being brought up, on the 1 year anniversary, the 10 year anniversary, the 20 year anniversary of when this stuff happens, you know?
Yeah, you become the story of the town that people, oh, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's the person, that's the house where this such and such crime happened.
But
Right.
also, let's think about this. Let's just say that, okay, whoever survived, one or two or three, like those three people, right? They survived, but then one of the three hears a story exactly the same as to what they went through, and they think like, oh my God, it's the same people. They're coming back for me. You know how much fear
Mm-hmm.
that might be?
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I've even seen, there's movies. I've seen movies where Drano was involved, and it's everywhere. It's stories like that everywhere. There's probably a handful that I've seen that happen. So I feel like they're probably thinking that no matter where they go, they can't get away from it.
This case has been retold many times, often refocusing on how shocking it is.
And I think it's worth questioning that.
Yeah, when does public interest cross into voyeurism, and how do we, as storytellers, avoid it? Like, you pretty much can't avoid it because it's a staple in a town or something, you know.
For those that don't know, like myself, what is voyeurism?
So, to those that don't know what voyeurism is, the practice of gaining. Okay, we can't say that. The practice of gaining sexual
Oh,
excitement from watching others.
Oh, ew. Why would you,
Yeah,
what? Like, ooh, let me drip Drano down your throat. Like, what kind of shit?
exactly. Yeah. So basically, that was
I
probably
don't
the
know that
thought.
it specifically says actual.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because there's a difference between remembering a case and mocking it.
I thought it
So
was literally just
so
like
yeah.
mocking, like
So
sensationalizing it.
that's what I thought it was. But
Okay.
it goes deeper than that. So mentally, like in the mental, like someone who has issues, that's probably another like reason crime
Oh
was an extent.
shit, it is.
The Hifi murders forced legal systems to confront something uncomfortable: torture committed by civilians.
This wasn't war. This wasn't interrogation. This was cruelty for its own sake.
Mhm.
Why do you think torture, more than other crimes, forces people to confront the darkest parts of human behavior?
I don't know. You just have to question what is going through their minds. And like I said, going through anybody's mind is scary on its own. I don't want to know what happens in these people's minds.
I kind of do. I kind of
Uh,
want to, like, listen, I'm very into, like,
I get it. I do. I get
like
it.
the knowledge of it, not the, like,
Yeah.
weird part of it. Like, I want to know more because it's like,
Right.
again, with the why, what,
Yeah,
who,
that's what I keep
how.
coming back to is why.
But what if we enter, like, what if I enter it and it's just like blank space and it's just like, I did it because I wanted to? That would make me so upset. I'd be like,
Yeah,
wow.
because it still leaves you to why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we know why, just because they wanted to, because their blank space is just like, oh, I just felt like it today. It was a nice Tuesday, and I just felt like I'm putting some Drano and restraining some people. But that would just make me like,
Mm-hmm.
are you serious? Like, I can't.
So, do you think society is equipped to talk about intentional cruelty? Like, honestly?
I don't even know because nowadays, even let's just say you're cruel to a dog, a puppy, an animal, and that raises like so many red flags, and oh my God, everybody, like the whole community comes together. So imagine like just intentionally doing that to someone now. Like you read in the headlines, like I'm just gonna say a place because I'm it's like somewhere far from us, like Dallas, Texas, like store was robbed and people had to drink the Drano and things like that. It's like, what the heck is going on?
Hmm. They say too, like you brought up the animals and stuff. That's a red flag nowadays too. Like you
Hmm.
said, that leads to questioning of serial unalivers. But back in the 70s, they didn't have all of this knowledge. They didn't do all this psychological research behind it and stuff like that. They didn't have any of that back then.
But from what I've seen and what I've read and things like that, because I don't sleep.
Hmm.
From what I've seen and I don't like, and I've read and stuff like that, they have like linked it back all the way, I want to say to like the 30s, where like if they knew something was off with the person, even for unaliving a cat, they're like, okay,
Hmm.
we got to link all these crimes and things like that because there's other I watch other podcasts, not to get my information, but just to like know more knowledge about certain things. And
Hmm.
it just amazes me like how some people caught on, but then some people didn't catch on, and then they didn't share that information. Like, shit, I'm on a community on TikTok. If I see like, yo, Pedro down the street is unaliving 5 cats right now, like, please send help, and we need to get this investigated. Like, go into his basement or something. He probably got a body.
Right.
No, that's true. People got to be more involved in the community because
Yeah.
some things like that can be prevented just from a small
Hmm.
little interaction with that person that does the crime.
Right. And that brings us back to this. These guys have both had um, prior arrests and prior, issues with the law. And could something have been done back then? Could they have questioned it more back then, depending on what they were doing? Could this have been prevented? Were there signs that people weren't seeing? Were there signs that people were ignoring?
It's like
Yeah.
nowadays, though. It's like nowadays, like people see signs or they see things that actually happen in front of them and they choose to ignore it because I don't know how far this goes, but it's like snitching, um, s- snitching means stitches or something like that. And
Snitches get
that's,
stitches.
yeah, that. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
grew up on. Like, or if you snitch on the block or whatever, but it's not even that. It's like being human, like putting back,
Right.
putting back like faith into humanity. Like it's another person. That could have been you. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the perpetrators were convicted, sentenced, and removed from society.
From a legal standpoint, the case is closed.
Is justice just about removing someone? Or is it about also understanding how something like this happens? I think it's understanding and like removing them because they're the problem, of course, but also understanding how it happens so it won't reoccur.
But that's the thing. We've been questioning why this whole time. So how do you even understand how something like this happens? You know what I mean?
But then the thing is, and can understanding ever feel like excusing? Like if you start understanding them, can you feel like you can excuse them for what they did? Like if they tell you like, oh, I'm going through mental health, and then like I don't know, I feel like at that I don't know, I feel like this was calculated. I feel like it was too much time. I don't know. I feel like it was calculated, but that's my own opinion. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I
I
feel I
think they,
feel with that same opinion too. This was all calculated to the extent.
yeah, they came in knowing what they
Yeah,
wanted to do.
they knew
Hmm.
exactly what they wanted to do. And they probably wanted to unalive them, but it just didn't work out that way.
I mean, some of them they did. There were only a few survivors. Not all of them survived. Mm-hmm.
But just imagine, like, I don't know.
Like I can understand, but I'm not gonna excuse the behavior like that. Like okay,
Right.
I get because mental health is a real thing, and I
Mm-hmm.
get it. And but some people just do it for the pleasure of it, and that's I don't know. Mm-mm. It doesn't sit well with me.
I agree. I mean, I understand the mental health issue, but this was premeditated. This is they came in knowing what they were doing was wrong. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it can be excused whether it was mental health or not. They were able to restrain these people. They were able to to sit here and watch and listen to these people suffer. You know, I don't think I don't know. I couldn't excuse it. We've covered some violent cases, but this one sits different.
Because it wasn't fast, it wasn't impulsive.
It was straight suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think duration changes how we emotionally respond to a crime?
And a duration as far as like while a crime is happening, or like how fast the case has closed. I feel like if it's like if it's because the case closed fast and the arrest was made, I feel like it was like cut and dry, but it still leaves like a burden of
Mm-hmm. And that
the extent of the crime. It
it's
doesn't feel like it's closed.
right.
I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it just doesn't. It's just like lingering around.
Yeah, the emotions are gonna be there regardless, for anybody involved, anybody hearing the story, even not involved. It's been how many years and it's still emotional, you know?
So I was researching, and it says that the attackers took their victims hostage and tortured them for over the course of a few hours, with some sources specifying a duration around 2 to 3 hours. Because we've been talking about the duration of this, of how long they kept them there. The crime was
Mm-hmm.
discovered almost 3 hours after everything began. The
Wow.
perpetrators, Dale Perry Selby and William Andrews, entered the hi-fi shop around closing time at 7 p.m. and took the initial three victims hostage in the basement. Two more people arrived at the store looking for their family members and were also taken hostage, bringing the total number of victims to five. The victims were held, tortured, forced to drink drain cleaner, which is the Drano. One was raped. One had a pin kicked through his ear, and another one was shot in the head over a period of hours while the perpetrators stole equipment. The perpetrators left the shop, and the crime was discovered around 10 p.m. by Orrin Walker's wife and other son, who found the victims in the basement. Three victims died, while the two survivors suffered permanent life-altering injuries.
Mm-hmm.
That is,
Wow. That's crazy.
yes, and that's
That's why I kept saying, it was you gotta these people are the ones that are living. They went through a lot. They not
I want to
only
see.
to their own bodies, but they had to witness what was done to the other three. You know what I mean? That's yeah.
Dude, that's and then the father and son who found them,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God,
Yeah.
they're probably like, what?
it brings us back to like something I keep coming back to is the empathy, not for the perpetrators, but for the like the victims and the survivors, what they went through, what they witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Empathy. Oh, sorry, go
so
ahead.
brutal. So it was so brutal. It was so I don't know. I it just yeah.
And empathy requires us to sit with discomfort.
Hmm.
Do you think people sometimes avoid deeply disturbing cases because empathy feels overwhelming?
I don't know because like I'm an empath myself and like I feel what you're feeling. And I just realized
Hmm.
this like this past year, 2025, I want to say 2024. I realized that and it's very strong, it's very heavy. Like things happen in my life where if you're feeling something like I'm feeling it too, like I'll get anxiety for you and things of that nature. And it's just how can you
It's
how can you read this or even hear about this and not be like, oh my God, those poor people? But
hmm
then it makes you think like also, and then I'm not playing devil's advocate because no, nothing excuses it. But then you think like what was going through their mind? Were they sick? Were they like their mental health? Like what is going on? Like was it that bad that what are you doing?
right. And it's draining. It is the having the empathy. It's draining. But yeah, I agree with you on you have to think what were they going through? What happened to them? Not that like you said, not that it excuses anything, but why are you so angry that you have to put this pain, so much pain and torture onto somebody else? What happened to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it leaves you to think too, like, what if nothing happened? This can just be
Right.
just a random act of violence or just
Right.
a thought of like, yeah, let's go to the
Yeah.
store, let's get this Drano, let's go there, let's rob them and let's torture them.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna come back to the two people because we didn't before wrapping it up because I don't think this is a case that offers lessons in a clean motivational way. I want to just say a little bit about what the two survivors, Orrin William Walker, because they deserve to have a name. He was 43 at the time of the crime and was the father of the victim, Stanley Walker. He survived the attack despite being shot and having a ballpoint pen stomped into his ear by one of the perpetrators. He managed to hold the force drain cleaner in his mouth without swallowing, which saved him from the severe internal burns suffered by others. Orrin Walker provided key testimony at the trial that led to the perpetrator's conviction. He died in 2000 at the age of 69. And the other one is Byron Courtney Nasbitt. I think I'm saying that right. He was 16-year-old high school student who stopped at the store to see Stanley Walker. He was pew-pewed in the back of the head, an injury that caused permanent brain damage and amnesia, leaving him unable to testify at trial. He suffered chronic pain and life-altering injuries for the rest of his life, eventually passing away in 2002 at the age of 44. His mother, Carol Nasbitt, was a fatality in the attack. And then the three other victims who unalived during the incident were Stanley Walker, Carol Nisbet, which is Byron's mom, and Sherry Michelle Ansley. But I just wanted to share them because they deserve to have their name in there.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, those details is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just here sitting and thinking about it. It's like wow. Like I don't know.
And Kay, like you said, that this case doesn't offer lessons in a clean motivational way, but it doesn't give us any sense of resolution. You know, what do you think we're supposed to do with stories like this? I mean, what can you do besides spread awareness? Say, like you said, say their names.
You say their names, spread awareness. Like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
because if you look up the hi-fi unalivings, it comes up more the perpetrators' names than even the own survivors' names. Like, it's not their
Mm-hmm.
story. The story is about these people who survived and the people who were unalived. And I think
Right.
saying their names brings them a little bit more justice, even if it's beyond the grave, because they're all unalive now.
Yeah,
And
I
it's just
agree.
saying their name, letting people know that these were actual people, actual human beings that had to deal with this.
Yeah. You see that all too often too, where it's the perpetrators that are being brought up more often than the victims. And I think that we need to bring this awareness for the victims.
Exactly. And that's brings me to like think like why the society rather talk about
Mm-hmm.
the rather not talk about the victims. Like I
Right.
don't understand.
Yeah, I agree.
But before we close this out, I want to pause one last time. And I know I keep saying that I want to pause one last time, but
Because this case isn't about shock, it's about sitting with reality.
What part of this case do you think you'll carry with you the longest? I think for me, as far as this case, I think it would be the torturing, the 2 hours of
Mm-hmm.
torture. Like, was it really the need for that?
2 to 3 hours at that. Like,
Yeah, there was no need for all that. If you just wanted to just rob the place, let go the ones that came to get their family members, or just let everyone out, or just hold them hostage, lock them up in a room, do what you got to do and leave.
Why the torture? Like, why did you have to torture? Why, if you were going to do something, why not just put them out of their misery? You know what I mean? Do it, or you either come and do what you were there to do, rob the place, or but why did you have to torture them?
and like we said about one of the survivors, because Drano was my main thing. Like, whoa. But my thing now is like, you pew pewed the man, right? But
Mm-hmm.
why did you have to stick a ballpoint pen and stomp it into his ear?
Yeah.
Like, that is just cruel. That's like that's just I don't know. I can't. Like I feel for them. But I also give him props because he held the drain cleaner in his mouth without swallowing.
Mm-hmm.
Oren's the man.
And they said that's what saved his life.
Mm-hmm. And he
Yep.
was a key testimony at the trial.
Yep.
See, thankfully for him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The hi-fi murders are solved, but that doesn't mean they're finished.
They live on in the people who survived and in the questions they leave behind. Not the people who survived, but their families, the community, everybody that this touched.
And that's what Sinister Sunday really is about. Not the answers, but awareness and letting their
Mm-hmm.
stories live on.
Sinister Sunday isn't about easy answers or neat endings. It's about sitting with the stories that stay with us. and the ones that challenge how we see people, justice, and the world around us. Because
These cases,
not for nothing, justice is really messed up right now.
hmm these cases are heavy for a reason. They ask us to slow down, to listen, to remember the lives affected beyond the headlines and court records.
And if this episode left you thinking, unsettled, or asking questions, that's okay. That's what Sinister Sunday is meant to do.
Thank you for spending this time with us and for holding space for these stories.
This has been Unfiltered, the podcast, Sinister Sunday.
And as always,
Stay
Stay
unfiltered.
stay
unfiltered.
unfiltered.